Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm Debra Eckerling, creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I'm also the author of your Goal Guide and 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every week I bring together some of my people to dive into the topic. And today we're talking about social media. And we're not doing the whole social media guru thing. I mean, I have absolutely nothing against social media guru people because I am friends with several, but I thought it would be fun to have some real people who are, and I'm not going to say air quote influencers, but people who use social media for what I believe it's meant for, which is raising their voice, sharing information, and raising the voices of others. So whether you're watching this live, as Goal Chat Live, or the replay, or listening to us as the Goal Chat podcast on the Marketing Podcast Network, we are so glad you're here. And I'm really, really jazzed about today's show. I say that all the time, but I actually always mean it because, you want to hang out with your friends. What do? You do a weekly show where you get to bring them together. Today we have Kristen Coffield, who is I think we call you a grand influencer, who's taken the whole active grandparenting, the spearheader of the active grandparenting movement. And I know Instagram is your big platform. We have Annie Korzen, who's author of the book of Annie. She is an author, actor. She is all these kinds of things, but also an octogenarian TikTok star. I mean, come on. Amazing. And Chef Rossi, and I should say Annie and Chef Rossi have both been guests on Taste Buds with Deb. Annie, the anti-cook, and Chef Rossi, the raging skillet. What do they call you again? The uncaterer?
A new breed of rebel anti-caterer.
Yes. So, and Chef Rossi, who I had met years ago, because I had written about you for your books, the most recent being The Punk Rock Queen of the Jews. But Chef Rossi also shares a tip in my new book, 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting. And I figured I was putting this panel together, and I believe we started with Kristen. And I said, oh, well, you have to meet Annie. And then Chef Rossi came into the mix. So I know we've got such a powerhouse of real life people using social media for good and to spread important messages. I would love for them to introduce themselves because I think mostly what you know is they're rock stars and I like them. So Kristen, please share who you are and what brings you to Goal Chat Live today.
All right, I'm Kristen Coffield. I'm the founder of The Culinary Cure, and I'm the founder of Active Grandparenting. So I'm a women's wellness coach. I'm a chef. I'm the author of How Healthy People Eat, An Eater's Guide to Healthy Habits. And I guess I am a grandfluencer because, well, I did win a Grandfluencer Award from the Grandfluencer Academy. But yeah, I am taking all those powerful tools, those wellness tools that I used for 2 decades coaching women to help grandparents really up-level their mobility, stability, flexibility, strength, and wellness to rock this third act.
And I recently interviewed you for Third Act magazine, so that'll be out in a couple months. So another reason for the power of reconnecting. I previously met you through our friend Vivica von Rosen. Both of you I interviewed for Women's World, and then when I started writing for this new publication, I reached out, and here you are. The beauty of networking and staying in touch with people. Annie, great to see you. Welcome.
Oh, always good to see you. I'm Annie Korzen. I'm actually, because there's a story behind it. The full title of the book is The Book of Annie, and there's a little subtitle, Humor, Heart, and Chutzpah from an Accidental Influencer, because my whole social media experience was a total accident. I still understand nothing about it. A lot of you may know me as Doris Klompus on Seinfeld. And so I've been an actress and a writer and a performer. And the TikTok thing just happened quite unexpectedly. And on TikTok, I have now almost, how many? Almost 5 million followers. No, I'm sorry, I'm exaggerating. It's not that many. I have almost 500,000 followers. But certain of my TikToks have been seen over 1 billion times. My TikTok about Krispy Kreme. More about that later.
Well, and it just goes to show that when you are being yourself, and authentic is, I think it's a little bit of an overused word, but the problem with overused words is sometimes they're accurate. When you are
Absolutely.
yourself and
Mhm.
you put that person out there, that's where you get the goods. So
Absolutely.
Chef Rossi, great
Yeah.
to see you.
So great
Welcome.
to see you. Thank you. So I'm Rossi, better known as Chef Rossi. I'm the owner and executive chef of the Raging Skillet in New York City, and kind of a wild company. We're known as like the new, I'm a new breed of rebel anti-caterer. The ZAG has called us the wildest thing this side of the Mason-Dixon line. So, we're kooky, eccentric, and fun. I've written 2 books. My first is The Raging Skillet, which became a play and travels around the country. And my second book came out in April, and that's The Punk Rock Queen of the Jews. And that's a very different kind of book. About my time being kidnapped by my parents and forced to live with Hasidic Jews in Crown Heights, Brooklyn in
Oh my God.
1981, which was a pretty dicey time to be there, that I managed to escape and managed to still be Jewish. Is sort of a miracle. And ultimately, I just became a wild and freaky chef. There you have it.
Isn't that what food is for, though? Is
Mhm.
to express your personality?
That's right. It's true.
Well, and also to eat, but
Yeah.
is your main platform Facebook, or you do a little bit of everything?
Well, Instagram is my favorite. That's sort of what I guess I'm mostly comfortable there. But if I want to get people into what I'm doing more, Facebook is a little more personal, where I can really, really, really say a lot more. Instagram's a little short and fast.
So what about the A word, authenticity? Why do people sort of,
Yeah,
I know that
I
it's
hear that a lot.
important, but
I hear that a lot. I get stopped on the street by fans. My fans are very young for the most part. I get stopped by Gen Zs. I get stopped by high school kids and 20-year-olds. It's very odd. I mean, I still, and I say to them, I don't understand this. I'm 86 years old. Why are you a fan of mine? And they use that word. They say, because you're authentic. And I think by that they mean that I speak my truth.
Right.
And I'm critical of myself as much as I am of other people. Actually, I try not to be too critical of other people on TikTok, because I don't want too much negativity. And I think they feel a lot of people are lying to them. Politicians are lying to them. Their teachers are lying to them. They're not getting truth in a lot of places. So they feel that with me, at least they know I'm saying what I really believe. And I guess, and I assume that's true of everybody else here.
Rossi.
I know I cannot do it any other way. I mean, I never was able to lie. My mother, I think, did it to me. She put some Jewish curse on me that I never could tell a lie. So I think about that Jim Carrey movie, Liar, Liar. And so I've had to mold my whole life around the fact that I can only tell the truth no matter what. So my itch when I'm talking to clients on the phone, I'll tell them, well, listen, I'm going to make money on that, but I'm not going to make money on that. So why don't you buy that yourself? Because or else I'm going to charge you a lot of money for it. And I'll do that instead. And I listen to people listen to me on the phone, and they're just like, how on earth are you in business? You're telling them everything. I'm like, who cares? In the end, they're just so happy that you're telling them the truth, that they tell it to their parents and their children, their grandchildren, and their neighbors. I mean, all of the business I've had in the last 3 days, it's all word of mouth. They're like, she just always tells the truth. Sometimes I maybe should keep my mouth shut a little bit, but it's not possible.
And your secret in the book is be able to look at yourself in the mirror. And it feels like that's like the most basic thing. Why wouldn't we want to be who we are all the time? But I feel like a lot of people have a problem with that.
Like when they say you're talking out of one side of your face. I mean, you have someone comes and does a sales pitch on you, and you can just see they're just totally full of poop. If they would just come over and just tell the truth, like, look, this shirt is beautiful, but it falls apart in 5 minutes, so don't buy it. Then you would just love it.
But also, what's interesting is I have my whole life apologized. I've been criticized for being too talkative, too opinionated, too blunt. Always. I was told it was not an attractive quality in women. Thank you very much. And I've always felt bad. Oh, why couldn't I be more of a girly girl? Why couldn't I be like what your parents, Chef Rossi, wanted you to be?
Right.
And now, here's the thing. Now, in my dotage, I'm being celebrated for those exact same qualities. Right. And so one of my themes in my book is, and I say this to everybody out there, do not be poisoned by other people's negative opinions of you. If somebody were to say to me, you're awfully talkative, I would not apologize. I would say, you're right. I talk a lot. And you know something? Maybe you should listen to what I have to say. It might benefit you.
You could say, imagine this, that I could keep on talking and everything I have to say is so interesting, as opposed to all you can do is spout negativity because you have nothing really to say.
I think if someone said to me, Deb, you're talkative, I would say, thank you. Right?
That's a good, yeah. Actually, that might be a good way to respond to any criticism. Your hair is awfully curly. Thank you. You could lose some weight. Thank you. I feel we're leaving Kristen out of this.
I was just going to go over to Kristen and say, Kristen, what is your take? And well, I'll let you answer, and then I'm going to redirect if you do not say the thing that I think you're going to.
Well, when you talk about authenticity and you talk about social media and you talk about what's happened, in the past, 20 years, starting with keeping up with the Kardashians and, this sort of move to, reality is kind of morphed into, there's no reality TV, right? There's not a lot of reality in reality anymore. So when people can find people that have a certain amount of, we already used the word authenticity, but I think it's more than that. It's like this honesty,
honesty is the word.
Yeah. And things are changing really fast right now with AI, with politics. The world is moving faster than ever before. And I feel to a certain extent that what I bring to my messaging is entertaining, it's positive, it's funny, and it gives people, part of what I teach is also how can you stay true to yourself with all of the things that are going on, right? How do you manage the stress of living in today's world and still have your humor and find your joy? So I think we're all doing that in our own ways, but I do feel really strongly, like in my stories on Instagram, I really try to share some of my wisdom, right? Because if I've lived through it and experienced it, and I've found a way that works to kind of come out of the other side, if it worked for me, it's going to work for some other people too. So, and those people will find me. The people who want my message will find me and find joy and ease and relief in what I'm sharing, and hopefully laugh.
And there are a lot of people who've got this love-hate relationship with social media. I think I talk to at least one person every week that's like, oh yeah, I don't do social media anymore. It's too negative. It's too this, it's too that. I led a Twitter chat for many years that I sunsetted in the fall of 2023 because of all that toxicity. But by the same token, Twitter/X not accepted, there are a lot of good things to be had from social media. This conversation is a great example. Every week I get to bring together people, and sometimes it's people I haven't seen in a while. Let's catch up, be on my show. And other people, it's like, I know you'd be perfect for this topic. So for me, that's when that reconnection is a huge benefit. But I would love from each of you, what do you believe is the biggest benefit of social media? And it looks like Annie really wants to start.
The thing that happened to me was totally first of all, I have to say, I understand nothing about social media. Nothing. I mean, I'm on Facebook, but that I do a Chef Rossi. I do that for personal and business. I don't open that up. I don't friend people that I don't know. So that's really what I use for myself. But TikTok has changed my life. It's allowed me to be myself. It allows me, as we say, to be honestly myself. And I have found a huge, unexpected audience out there. I got a comment that said, I don't understand why I relate so profoundly with an American Jewish woman in her 80s. I'm a 16-year-old Afghan boy. That could not happen anywhere else. So I'm grateful for that. I still don't understand Instagram because I don't like pictures. I'm a words person. Right. I don't understand that you can't put a link in or that you can't. I mean, I'm trying to use it, but it's hard for me. I have, however, I was going to ask you both, but I have, because of the possibility of TikTok no longer existing, I've just started a YouTube channel. So it's Annie Korzen videos on YouTube. And what I'm finding interesting about social media, both YouTube and TikTok, you cannot predict anything. I will post something that I think is important and powerful and moving. It'll get, so response. I'll do something that to me is just light and frivolous, something about food or fashion or thrifting or something, and it'll get, a zillion viewers.
Like you don't know why it resonates. It'll just take off running.
And what about you, Rossi? What do you believe is the biggest benefit?
Well, I feel I've had different feelings about social media. I made a decision way in the beginning when I first signed up for Facebook. That was everyone probably, that was how they started. And I made a decision, even though I was saying friends only, and even though I was doing all these things supposedly to protect myself from strangers seeing what I posted, that anything I would post on social media ever, I had to always be prepared for the whole world to see it, because maybe they could. And then when I got a public page and then I got on Instagram and this and that, I never put anything up. I just, if it's a little bit, makes me feel a little vulnerable, I just take a breath. And if I'm cool with the whole world seeing it, then I post it. If I'm not cool with it, then I don't. I just don't put it up. So I also make a point to just always be as bluntly honest as I can. Obviously I am not even remotely thrilled with the person that's in the White House at the moment. I think they're kind of similar to Hitler, and I'm not very thrilled with people that support him and so on. I won't go there because we'll all get dark and negative, but I'm not willing to lie or pretend about it. So I'll put things up on Facebook. I don't like to say his name, and I'm not a pundit, I'm not political, but I'll put things up on Facebook and say, is it okay that this child now is in fear for his life? Do you really feel good about that? If it takes off, or if I start to sometimes I get nasty comments and people will say mean things to me when I say something like that. And I'll just be like, well, I'll make a decision to unfriend them or block them if I find that they're rude, if they've gone past a line, to protect myself. What I like about social media is that you can feel like you're getting the word out in a variety of ways. Like I've had art shows and I've had book shows and things like that, and done all sorts of things to promote it. And yet I'll put one sentence up on Facebook and Instagram and 100 or 200 people will show up. So I think it's just very good for promo.
That's awesome that you obviously have big fans that get excited that you're going to be out in the world, that they get to see you, right? So it is a wonderful instrument for sharing news and events and things going on in your world.
Annie, are you talking?
Are you not hearing me?
No.
We have a lot of background noise, so I've been muting you when you're not talking.
Oh, because I don't have a mic. I'm not using a mic. Oh.
Right.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Sorry. I just want to say something very fast, that Facebook I have used for practical information, including when my husband needed hip surgery. I went on Facebook and I said, in LA, who's the best hip surgeon who takes SAG-AFTRA? And I got the best guy in the world. Okay. And I don't know how I would have researched that otherwise. Things like that. Who's got the best piano tuner? Who's got the best? I use it as a source of just practical information. like that.
It's good for getting the word out. Definitely is.
And so, Kristen, what do you believe is the benefit of social media?
Well, I'm going to reiterate a couple of things that were said already. It's amazing that you can speak to the world. When I go on and do an Instagram live and then I'll leave it up in my feed, you know, I had someone today say, "Oh, I'm watching from South Africa," or, I'm in Scotland. And so I think that's really cool. But something very interesting that I've observed with my Instagram. So my account in the past year grew by, about 250,000 followers. When I switched from talking about women and wellness to talking about active grandparenting. So wellness in the context of, hey, guess what? You're a grandparent now and you're going to be getting up and down off the floor 50 times a day. How you feel about that? How are your hips holding up? Maybe I can help you. A little hydration, some exercise, so what I found is that this demographic, these women over 50 who are grandparents, so many of them have private accounts.
Right.
So they're on Instagram. They want to talk to me. And I'm like, hey, I can't send you that information because your account's private. So they're on Instagram for information, but they're not posting really. They don't have profile pictures, a lot of them, and they have private accounts. So just the same, they're there for information. They're curious and they want to, like Annie said, they're looking for grandparenting information, and here I am. But I think that's an interesting thing. Now, another thing that I would say is I think Instagram's a great tool for marketing, but it's not a great place to sell. It's not really a great sales tool, but it's a great way to get the word out and have people find out about you. Maybe LinkedIn is better for selling because it's more business kind of oriented. But I think a lot of people think they're going to get on Instagram or Facebook and create like social media magic, and they're going to make money doing it. And I think that's the next step. It's a little harder to go from getting a lot of traction to actually making money on these media channels.
Thank you, first of all, for sharing the story that I was kind of goading you into, which is you were doing one thing and then you just shared something about your life and it went.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just hit on something unintentionally and it gets you in a good direction, which is great. But, goal strategist hat, as long as it's in alignment with who you are, wonderful. You don't want to go so far afield that you're encouraged in the wrong direction. That's I think I feel like that's a different conversation. So I'm going to re-steer the boat. But the other part is people think it's going to be instant magic. And right. I think maybe it was for Annie. And there was a time, where you got the information out because you adjusted a little bit, Kristen. What about you, Rossi? Did you have a moment like that where you did one thing and all of a sudden?
Well, when I first started on Instagram, I would put pictures of different food things I would make. So a great hors d'oeuvre or whatever it was, I would put the picture up, and some people would like it or love it or make a comment. It wasn't anything remarkable. And then one day I was in a party and we were doing a wedding, and in the background we all just got the dinner out. We were excited, and so the music came on and we all started dancing in the kitchen. And we were really getting down in the kitchen, and one of my waiters videotaped it and sent it to me. And I said, oh, you know what? Why am I always putting up pictures of tuna tartare and whatever? This is kind of fun. And I put the video up of us all just dancing and getting down in the kitchen, and got like more traffic than everyone just went mental for it. So then I was like, I realized that whenever I would put something up where I was just showing that I'm a silly, fun, weirdo person, people liked it a lot more than if I just put up a picture of Korean barbecue beef. I mean, they like that too, but it's fun to sort of humiliate yourself every once in a while. Why not?
I personally do not consider dancing and humiliation the same sentence. I think maybe that's my new TikTok strategy. I will just start recording my dance breaks and say, great to have goals, but you need dance breaks. And I'm going to experiment and see what happens. So having fun, or the first word in social media is social, which I think people forget.
Right.
So what are some of the other things you all do to make your social media social? Annie, you want to jump in?
I just try to be honest about everything, things I enjoy. One of my first TikToks that went viral, I forget, it's had millions of views, was during the pandemic. I managed to get out to a cafe with my husband, and we sat down, and you foodies will all appreciate this. I said, the best way I can think of to end a stressful day is with a margarita and some guac and chips in an outdoor cafe. Very simple thought. That was it.
Yeah.
And it went crazy.
Yeah.
Because I said to my young woman I said, why is this? She said, people want to relax. You're inspiring people to just enjoy simple pleasures.
Right.
And I think that simple pleasures, so often my husband's Danish, we don't like the same food. So if I sometimes do a TikTok where I show I'm eating pasta and he's eating herring at the same meal, those things go crazy. It's weird, it's eccentric. But again, getting back to what we keep talking about, being honest about things that I enjoy or that I think are quirky, people seem to need that. And also, one of you said something before, I think it was Kristen. I'm so old that I am confident in my wisdom. I am confident. I've experienced enough and I have failed enough. So I think that what I have to say has some value.
Yeah.
And I'm getting that confirmed.
Oh, I love that, because I think that's a big part of it too, is confidently stepping into your messaging, and people really enjoy that. People really enjoy when you're not like trying to be an expert at something, but you're just kind of relaxed. You're like, hey, this is just like what's happening here. I'm schlepping a 30-pound crawling grandchild because he can't walk. And I've got to be able to pick up that chonker without, dislocating a disc in my back. So, this is why, I'm hydrating or, doing this exercise. But the relatability, and people, let's face it, guys, there's a certain voyeurism to all of this social media. It's kind of fun. You don't want to get too sucked in, but it is fun to catch a glimpse of the way other people do things.
Absolutely. Well, going back to food, it's like, isn't there a Netflix show where they're like, okay, now recreate this amazing food you saw online? So it's even like voyeurism to the next level. Let me see if I can do this thing.
Right. The TikTok, whatever thing, and people are making it and tagging it. So, in a sense, it's a community. It's a way for people to connect with other people. It's also inspirational and aspirational, but at the same time, it can make you feel awful too. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to get caught in doom scrolling and comparing with other people's lives, or competing, feeling like you should have that Birkin bag, whatever it is, So I think, like anything, it's okay. So let's just say it like it is. Social media is designed to be addictive. So it is kind of like the sugar of entertainment. Right? It's addictive. You get into it. The more you watch, the more you want to watch. I got to use food terms because I too am a chef and a caterer. I had a catering company for years. I mean, we could do a podcast about horrible clients. That's all. People love that kind of stuff. They love to hear those, bad boss kind of stories. But, so I think that's a part of it too. You've got to have certain healthy boundaries around social media. So if you're going to use it for information, that's great. If you're going to use it because you're curious and you want to maybe find some fun people to follow that inspire you, that's great. But just getting on and spending hours on social media is like the great dumbing down of, the world.
Mm-hmm. That's really true.
So what is it that you do to make, other than just showing up as yourself and say, watch me dance or come party with me at this event, etc. What are some of the things that you do, Rossi, to make social media social?
Well, one thing I have gotten myself into, and I would like to tell you, I've always done this, but really it was my girlfriend who kind of cracked the whip. She's like, okay, this is ridiculous. I have to put it down. I have to not do anything with social media within like an hour or two of bedtime, because I had been sort of looking through the Facebook and Instagram and then putting my phone down and then going to bed and having anxiety and tossing and turning and having weird dreams. And my girlfriend was like, couldn't you maybe just check that like 9 p.m., 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. or whatever? That's it. And then you can just have peace and serenity for a couple of hours and go into a beautiful sleep. So now what I'm doing, the punk rock queen of the Juice, such a bad girl, right? Now what I'm doing is listening to Barbra Streisand on my audio tape as I go to sleep. And so Barbra Streisand's telling me about her life, and I'm going into the most excellent sleep and not having any drama or anxiety. And so I'm just cut off with all social media. I would say if I'm going to go to sleep at 12, then no social media at like 9, ideally, certainly like 10. It has to be a couple hours of it's gone.
So setting boundaries makes you better.
Right.
When you are there. And so you get a good night's sleep, you could be more present and really be more you, because you feel more you because you're well rested. I think there's a study that says like whatever you hear within a certain amount of time before you go to bed is going to invade your dreams.
It's in your head. I mean, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I could be like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Why didn't I say that? You don't want that in your head. Forget it. And it's not just social media. It's everything. Like for a long time, I have a beautiful office and a beautiful kitchen that cost me a fortune. And I should just do all my work there. But for a long time, it was just comfortable to be on the email with clients and doing all this work at home. And I'd be like in my bedroom, like answering clients' emails. And I started feeling really fakaka, really crazy. And so finally I said, you know what? There's no work at home. I'm just going to walk the 13 block walk to my kitchen, and that's where the work happens. The only thing that happens in my home is for my creative life and for writing and painting and this whole part of my life. And social media is fine and dandy, but it really has to end a couple hours before bedtime so I can have a Zen-like evening. And even, when you're on social media, you have to be very careful because there are a lot of psychic vampires out there who would like to drag you into a dark hole with them. And there's people out there who really dedicate their entire life to bragging and trying to convince you that they're so great. I mean, there's all sorts of things. You don't want to go down those different holes. You want to just think about how it makes you feel. Someone makes you feel inspired and energized. And that's someone you may want to check with again.
Which is why and I'll let you jump in a second, Annie, which is why I like to keep these conversations light. And sometimes last week we talked about sustainability and, the earth. I mean, talk about your perky but serious topics. But I also feel like presenting information in a certain way is just as important as the information itself.
I actually do not use social media as a viewer. I'm really there as a performer. I shouldn't say that, except for Facebook. On Facebook, I want to see pictures of my friends' kids and grandkids. I want to, and on Instagram, I might scroll through it, as I say. But like TikTok, I don't follow anybody. I follow 4 people. I don't scroll through it. I'm a TV addict. At night, The only screen I want to see is my television screen. So I'm actually using it differently. I'm a performer. I'm a storyteller. I came to TikTok and to social media in general to find another audience for my humor, for my writing, for my thoughts. So I guess I'm a maverick in that way. I don't really, I'm not tempted to scroll through it because, as I said before, I don't like pictures. I'm not a visual person. I like words. I like text. I like dialogue. Uh, so, so I'm really kind of exploiting it, I guess you might say, for my own evil, need.
I think the nicer word is utilize, but utilize, exploit,
Okay,
tomato,
I'll go with that.
tomato.
I'm using that for me. I wanted to find a new audience, a larger audience, and I never expected to find the audience, the particular young audience. And by the way, I want to say I can see there's a difference that TikTok is for younger people and YouTube and certainly Facebook are for older people. I can see the difference in the audience and the response to certain things. There is most people my age or even younger are not on TikTok, but they are on Facebook or YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Or Instagram.
And I love that you were introduced to it and it took off from you. And everybody is looking for that magic bullet. And as I say with my book, the secret to success, there is no secret. The same applies for social media. There's only trial and error. But if someone is looking for a new audience, what would be your recommendation for a way that they can get on whatever platform and stand out?
Well, what happened to me was, as we talked about before, I was just myself. I just put myself out there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, with all the honesty I could muster. And I don't know that there's anything more you can do except be yourself. And just be aware that TikTok does skew younger and that YouTube and certainly Facebook skews much older. Nobody's on Facebook anymore except old people like me. I mean, most people are too cool for Facebook. So I think you have to kind of be aware of who's out there, who the audience is.
I think people can really smell it on you when you're not honest, when you're really full of poop. They get that right away, and they just they maybe don't even know what it is that turned them off, but they're like, I'm out of here. Someone who's just fresh and in your face and just being themselves and telling the truth, it really draws you in. Even if you're not interested, you're like, that person is interesting.
So how do people be interesting and not self-conscious? Is there a trick to that, to getting there?
Well, I think what makes you self-conscious is caring too much about what people think of you. Once you really, really start caring, do I look good enough? Am I acting smart? Am I acting intelligent enough? Am I dressed chic enough? Once you start caring about any of that stuff, you're screwed. You have to kind of give a hoot gives a hoot. Like what I say in the back of my mind whenever I do anything, especially when I do something a little scary, is I say, what are they going to do? Fire me? I mean, I'm not fireable, so screw it, The worst thing they could do is not like me. So what? Moving on. And then I just go on and say what I want to say.
I think that's such a good point. I do a lot of these things called 15-minute powerful morning routines. And I get up really early. I go to bed really early. I just want to circle back. Your phone should be put to bed at least an hour before you go to bed and we should all be wearing blue light blockers when we're watching TV or looking at computer screens or even our cell phones, because the light from your cell phone, so if you're lying in bed and you're like, it lights up the neurons in your brain and it makes it harder for you to shut your brain down and get into that sleep state. And for those of you who don't know, deep restorative rest happens between 10 p.m. and 1 a.m. So you really want to actually try to be asleep during that time, but a lot of people, they get a second wind, they push past their sleep time, they have a little snack, and they get involved in something that lights their brain up. So, yeah, Annie's shaking her head. She's like, oh yeah, that's me. That's what I did.
I'm like, that's 10 to 1 is when I'm watching television. That's when I'm binging television. And you're right, I do have sleep problems. I also want to go back very briefly to something before you said, how do you attract an audience? How do you attract an audience? I never script anything. I know what I'm going to talk about and I shoot it and I do it. I do not correct it. I do not edit it. If I flub, I flub, so that it has to feel that I'm somebody talking to you. If I feel that somebody is doing some previously prepared or written script, I'm out of there.
Which is, and you asked before we went live, do I edit? And I said, no, it has to. The only times that I've taken things out between Gold Chat Live and what goes up as the Gold Chat podcast is if somebody said something really off, which I think happened once, or because usually the people on the show are my friends, which is why, which is great because I know a lot of cool people. And if someone who isn't my friend wants to be on the show, I say you have to come to one of my mixers so we can be friends. Anyway, that tangent aside, or if someone says something that's very specific to a date and time that's going to not age well as evergreen. Oh, at the end of the month, I am offering this deal.
Oh, right.
Yeah. No, not okay. So and even with my Taste Buds, which is a much shorter show, and most of them are one-on-one, although I did sneak a panel in for Hanukkah because I couldn't resist. I love this format. Usually the only tangents I take out of that are mine because I feel like it took us too far afield and I'm reining myself back in rather than my guests. So it's being who you are without a script. I completely agree. And having conversations that people can relate to, I think are super important. I don't think, though, you answered the recommendations question, Kristen. Did you?
What my recommendations for
someone who wants to stand out on social media, rise above the noise, as it were.
And I can speak with quite a bit of experience here because I have spent a small fortune on learning lots of things about, social media. And at the end of the day, the advice is kind of the same about anything. First of all, why are you on social media?
Right.
Like you should be clear about, are you entertaining people? Are you creating a movement? Are you building a brand or a business? And then, it's really a business formula. Who is your avatar? Who are you talking to? I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to all those women out there who, suddenly find themselves as grandparents and they thought they were in pretty good shape. Guess what? This is more rigorous than they thought. Or their kids had kids so much later that they're like, these older grandparents, and they're like, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? So I think that knowing who you're talking to, speaking to that person, not being salesy, really, you can sell people sometimes, but you can't sell people all the time. You're here to, you've got to suck it up, because if you're trying to sell people something, they've got to know, like, and trust you before they're going to buy anything from you anyway. So you've got to deliver the value, and you've got to do it with heart and authenticity. And then you'll create these very loyal people who truly can relate to you. And I do something that's absolutely insane. I do answer every comment personally.
Oh, good point.
I have posts on Instagram that have 5 and 6 million views, and sometimes something will go viral, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, trying to answer all these people and let them know that I'm a real person, because this is the other thing in social media. All the AI, people want to know they're really talking to a person.
Right.
that you're a real person. I don't have a team. I have a graphic designer. She helps me with some things. Thank goodness for Becca. But it is me. Like somebody said, who on your team didn't proofread this post? And I'm like, look, lady, you want to be my proofreader? Jump on board. I'm a one woman show here. I'm creating all of this content. I'm providing valuable information. I'm not a company or a team. I'm just me.
Yes, from the gold cheerleader, I am with you on that. And what you said before, it's very D in the Deb method is determine your mission. Know who you are,
Right.
what makes you unique, and how you would help.
Yeah.
And use that mission and motto, the motto being the short, fun tagline or title to what you do. Use that to guide you so you are only putting out into the world the most of who you are and what you have to offer.
Can I just say one more thing?
You can say one more thing, and
Okay.
Annie can say
And
one
then
more thing.
I'll throw it to you, Annie. So I'm in a bunch of, women's groups, over 50 influencer women, and a lot of women struggle to find their niche, to find the thing. They're like, well, I'm good at so many things, and my message is for everyone. And that's just not how it works. It's like your message isn't for everyone. It's for a very specific group of people that you can speak to. And so I've seen so many women, they start out being a meditation person, and then they're just going to be a comedian, and then they're like, I like to cook, so I'm going to start sharing some of my recipes. And so and it's not that you can't be all those things, but if you're trying to establish a following, people are very confused. They're like, what is this chick doing? Like, what is her message? Who is she? Like, now she's doing this. I don't, So I think you want people to get comfortable knowing they want to know they're going to get a certain thing from you, right? Consistently. And that's why they're going to keep showing up. They're going to be like, I really like her messaging. And then your big goal, here's your big goal on social media. You got to get them off social media and onto your email list, because you don't own your social media accounts. As
Right.
Annie's saying, if TikTok goes away, there go her, 500,000 followers, right? So you want to get them, you want them to know, like, and trust you enough that they're going to sign up for your newsletter or whatever, so you can get their email address, and then you can speak to them in another way. Annie?
I wanted to address something before. You said something about, Debra, you said, how do you build your audience? This is just a technical thing that I've been aware of recently. Keep it short. People talk much too long.
Yes.
On TikTok, you get paid. They want it to be long. They want it to be a minute. You get paid. So I get paid on TikTok if it's a minute. But I realize, and by the way, I do have somebody who helps me, and he has helped me. But I really, and he said, Annie, every once in a while, put up a short one, because that builds your audience. And he's right. I've noticed it there, and I've noticed it on YouTube. If I put up a 30-second one, I get a much larger, because people nowadays have ADHD. Everybody's got ADHD. They want to scroll through quickly. So keep it short. And the other thing is, I'm amazed that you're a one-woman person. I have had help. But interestingly enough, my person that I use has said to me, if you want, I will reply to your comments. And we started doing it, and I stopped it because I didn't feel he had my voice. So that is something I feel I have to do myself. But I will say that having someone like him around has increased my visibility. He's helped me get brand deals. I'm not ashamed to say that I am employing somebody to give me help with all this stuff. I admire that you can do it on your own. I can't.
But I
Rossi,
think both very impressive. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to ask if you had anything else to add to the recommendations for standing out before we gift some goals to the audience.
Well, I think keeping it short is actually very good advice. But really, 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 I go back to being yourself, being authentic, being real, And, a little bit of self-deprecating humor doesn't hurt. Like, I don't want people like feeling jealous, like, oh, she's got a catering company and all I have is like, I just work the fry machine. I don't want that. I don't mind humiliating myself. I don't mind dancing like a buffoon. I don't mind doing ridiculous things. If I feel that way, I don't want to fake it. It's just who I am. I learned a lot because I do a podcast. It's called Raging and Eating. And I discovered early on that I just could not figure out how to edit it to save my life. So I realized what I had to do is just do it straight through. Don't try and fix it. Don't try and edit it. And if I screw up, just say it right while I'm taping it that I screwed up, and just go with it. And I wind up saying some really bizarre things off the cuff. It's unscripted. I don't even know what's going to come out of my mouth. And every so often I just go, but I digress, because maybe I was talking about how to make homemade applesauce, and I started talking about, this perils of the Middle East. And I started talking about an obnoxious client who wanted to trim his toenails in my kitchen. Like, who knows where I'm going with that? I just keep going with it. And it's become really fun. And people are like, well, this crazy girl, let's see what she's going to have to say today. Maybe she'll even talk about food, or she'll spend the whole time complaining about her family. We don't know. And I'm kind of like letting my whole life go that way, just unedited and let it fly. I remember there was Wanda Sykes did this thing. I saw a comedian thing she did. She said, women over 50 don't give a shit, was her whole thing. And so she was talking about how freeing it is. She's over 50. She doesn't care. And then she went and she checked out at a grocery store, and the grocery store woman said, do you want paper or plastic? And she said, I don't give a shit. And so then what happened is the woman in the grocery store made her carry everything out with her hands. And she's like, oh, this is horrible. And she's like, the problem was the woman in the grocery store was also over 50. There is something freeing about not giving a hoot and letting it fly. That's why I think Annie is probably magical right now. She's like, what are you, 86 now? You're like, I don't give a shit. That's right. It's just me. Take it or leave it.
The other thing that you hit on, Rossi, that hadn't been said yet, and I'm shocked that it took till almost the end, is to have fun.
Right.
When you love what you do, it shows. So
Right.
Show that you love what you do.
Right. You're absolutely right.
I've had so much. Speaking of fun, this has been such a fun conversation. Before we wrap, I would love for you all to gift a goal to the audience. So what is something that they could do today, tomorrow, immediately to improve their social media? Do you want to start, Kristen?
Sure. I would say be consistent. So if you want to get any kind of traction on social media, it's really important to be consistent with your messaging and, your frequency of posting. And I think that's just a really good way for anybody to think about approaching social media.
Awesome. And Annie?
I would say wear bright colors. Seriously, because people see that. Your eyes are just, I'm not doing it. Wear bright colors, keep it short. And I think you can always start with, have you ever had this happen to you? And then go into your thing, because then you're including them immediately. You're making a personal connection. I do that quite a bit.
I love that. Okay, Rossi, goal?
I think there's a lot of crappy things happening in the world right now. We turn on the news for 5 minutes and we're all depressed, right? So I think unless you want to be a political pundit and that's your shtick, just to make everyone miserable, maybe just make people feel better. And so I could make people feel better by putting fabulous food that they want to eat and get excited by. I can make them feel better by putting a video of me dancing absurdly in the kitchen and being silly, whatever it is. You have to feel good about it in your own heart. But if you also think that maybe you're making other people feel good in their heart or get excited or have a positive feeling, then you're kind of counteracting all the crap that's going on in the world. I think that's not bad.
I am all for the inspiration and the motivation and making people feel good. And I said this before we went live. I believe that 52 Secrets for Goal Setting and Goal Getting is like the antidote for all the crazy in the world, because there's so much you don't have control over. But what you do have control over is your goals and doing what you need to do to get your message and who you are out into the world, which is why this topic was so amazing today. Friends, where can people learn more about you? Kristen?
You can follow me at Kristen Coffield on Instagram, and then Active Grandparenting and The Culinary Cure are my two websites.
Awesome. And Annie, where can people learn more about you?
My website is anniekorzen.com. On TikTok, I'm A Korzen. And on YouTube, it's Annie Korzen Videos.
Amazing. And Chef, where can people learn more about you?
Well, they can always go to theragingskillet.com. And on Instagram, I'm Chef Rossi NYC. And I'm also, my Facebook page is also Chef Rossi NYC. And I'm out there. You can find me pretty easily.
And I am at the Deb Method everywhere, speaking of consistency. And if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, you can read the recaps and get the goals from each episode and watch the replays as well. And if you need a little bit of extra inspiration and motivation, you can grab a copy of your goal guide and or 52 secrets for goal setting and goal getting at your favorite place to buy books. And of course, you can tune in. I'm live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And you can also subscribe to Goal Chat on your favorite podcast platform. What an amazing conversation. I feel more authentic and motivated than ever, which is kind of talk about your mission. I'm here to elevate people through the magic of goal setting simplified. So what final thought would you like to leave people with? Any final thought?
I really want to encourage people to buy my book. It's it's the Book of Annie. Humor, Heart, and Chutzpah from an Accent, because in it, I say what I really want to say, and I don't have to limit it to 60 seconds. I have humorous episodes in which I want to share with you how I see life, how I see dating and parenting and restaurants and thrifting and the things I consider important in the world. So I hope that will give you some pleasure in your life.
Thank you for that, Annie. And Chef Rossi, what final thought do you want to leave people with?
No, I sign off on my podcast the same way every time because it just feels like the right thing inside and out. And I say, food is love, and so are you. And that's really what I want to say.
Aw, I love that. Beautiful message. Thank you. And Kristen, final thought.
Well, big shock, anyone who follows me, I'm going to say every woman needs to get hydrated. So hydration is overlooked, it's underutilized, it's linked to every single goal for active aging. And I give away a free 4-day hydration training at theculinarycure.com. So get hydrated.
Because if you're not feeling good, what good are you? Right?
That's true.
The essence of everything. Thank you again, Kristen Coffield, Annie Korzen, and Chef Rossi for joining me. Thank you for tuning into Goal Chat, whether you watched us live or the replay or subscribe to Goal Chat on the Marketing Podcast Network. Social media is there to be social, but it's also a way to uplift others through your message, through your goal, through your mission. So if you're thinking about being more you in the universe, you've come to the right place. So now all you have to do is go out there and go for it because we know you can do it.